Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. Oh, I am so excited for today. We are sitting down with a man whose work has been on refrigerator doors and in morning newspapers for decades. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
Hi, Calvin. I'm Charles Schulz, though most folks who knew me just called me Sparky. I spent about 50 years of my life drawing a little comic strip called Peanuts, featuring a round-headed kid named Charlie Brown and his dog Snoopy.
Sparky, I love that. When and where were you born?
I was born on November 26, 1922 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I really grew up just across the way in St. Paul.
And what was your given name at birth?
My parents named me Charles Monroe Schulz.
Is there a story behind your birth name or maybe that nickname Sparky?
My birth name was pretty traditional, but that nickname Sparky came along just 2 days after I was born. My uncle called me that after a horse named Sparkplug from a comic strip called Barney Google. I guess you could say I was destined for the funny pages from the very start.
That is incredible. What was your hometown like growing up?
St. Paul was a wonderful place. It was a modest, hard-working city. My father, Carl, was a barber, just like Charlie Brown's dad, and my mother, Dina, was a housewife. We lived a quiet life. I remember the cold Minnesota winters and the feeling of the neighborhood. It was the kind of place where everyone knew their place, for better or worse.
What was your family life like?
We were a small, close-knit family. I was an only child, so I spent a lot of time in my own head. My parents were good people. My dad and I had a ritual every Sunday where we'd sit down and read the comic strips from 4 different newspapers. That was the highlight of my week.
What kind of kid were you?
I was a bit shy and withdrawn, honestly. I was the kind of kid who felt like he was always on the outside looking in. I wasn't the star athlete or the class president. I was the boy in the back of the room with a pencil in his hand.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I think, like many kids, I was afraid of being forgotten or not fitting in. There was always that melancholy feeling, as I called it. I worried about the bullies on the playground, the kids who wouldn't let you on the swings. Those feelings of frustration stayed with me for a long time.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
From my earliest memory, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I didn't want to be a doctor or a pilot. I wanted to produce a daily comic strip. That was the singular focus of my life.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Well, I loved drawing, of course, but I also had a real passion for sports. I played a lot of golf, and I absolutely loved ice skating and hockey. In school, though, drawing was my main escape. I even drew my family dog Spike for a Ripley's Believe It or Not feature when I was a teenager. That was a huge moment for me.
What was your first job?
My first real foray into the professional world was as an instructor at the art instruction school in Minneapolis, which is where I had taken a correspondence course myself. It was there that I worked with some folks who eventually gave their names to my characters, Linus, Frida, and even Charlie Brown.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I think it was that deep, stubborn sense of shyness. While other kids were out being bold, I felt things very deeply and often found humor in the quote-unquote bad things that happened. I realized that my perspective was a little more melancholy, but that it was also where my stories came from.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Enrolling in that correspondence cartoon course. It was just a talent test in a magazine, something my mother encouraged me to do. It seemed like a small hobby at the time, but it laid the entire foundation for my career.
What was your biggest break?
That would have to be 1950, when United Feature Syndicate finally accepted my strip. I boarded a train from St. Paul to New York to sign the contract. They were the ones who insisted on calling it Peanuts, which I actually didn't like at first, but it certainly turned out to be the break of a lifetime.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
Oh, the rejections. I had a mailbox full of no for a long time. People didn't always understand my style. And then, of course, the war happened. I served in the Army during World War II, which was a very difficult and transformative time before I could really get my career started.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Never. I was doggedly ambitious. Even when things were slow or I was facing rejection, I knew this was what I was meant to do. I just kept drawing, one line at a time.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I was a creature of habit. I went to my studio every single day. I took great pride in every line I drew. I used a specific pen, an Esterbrook 914 nib, and I'd work from morning until afternoon. Consistency was everything to me.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
If I hadn't made it as a cartoonist, I probably would have stayed an instructor at the art school or maybe worked in a field related to sports, like managing an ice rink. I eventually built my own arena, the Redwood Empire Ice Arena, because I loved the ice so much.
What was your life like before fame?
It was very quiet. I lived with my father in an apartment above his barber shop after I came back from the war. I was just a young man trying to find my way, selling a few one-panel cartoons here and there to the Saturday Evening Post.
How did relationships change after success?
Fame is a funny thing. It can make you feel a bit isolated. People start to see you as the creator of Peanuts, rather than just Sparky. I tried to stay grounded, but my work took up so much of my heart and time that it sometimes made personal life a bit of a challenge.
Did fame bring happiness?
Happiness is a warm puppy, as I famously wrote, but fame itself, it brought security and the ability to do what I loved, but I still carried those same old insecurities and that touch of melancholy. You don't outrun your nature just because you're famous.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The pressure to keep it going. For 50 years, I never had a ghostwriter or a ghost artist. I did every single strip myself. That's a lot of pressure to be funny and poignant every single day without fail.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Many people thought I was just this St. Charles figure, always happy and simple. But I had a dark side too. I could be resentful of old slights, and I struggled with self-doubt just like Charlie Brown did. I wasn't just a vanilla person. I had some rocky road in me as well.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People often thought Charlie Brown was a loser, but to me, he was a survivor. They misunderstood that the strip wasn't just about kids being cute. It was about the struggle of being human.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how did you handle it?
In 1966, my father passed away while he was visiting me. And that same year, my studio in Sebastopol burned down. It was a devastating time. I handled it the only way I knew how. I kept drawing. I moved to Santa Rosa and built a new studio. You have to keep moving forward.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My mother, Dina. She was the one who saw that "Do you like to draw" ad and encouraged me. Her death when I was only 20 was a loss I don't think I ever fully recovered from.
What was life like in your final years?
I spent them in Santa Rosa, California. I was still working every day, still playing hockey with the senior teams, and still spending time at the ice arena. I was very devoted to my work right up until the very end.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was working on the final Sunday strip. I announced my retirement in December 1999 because of my health, and I wanted to make sure I saw the Peanuts gang off properly.
When and where and how did you pass away, and how old were you?
I passed away in my sleep at my home in Santa Rosa, California on February 12th, 2000. I was 77 years old. It was actually the night before my final Sunday strip was published.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was the only non-professional hockey player to be awarded the Lester Patrick Award for my contributions to hockey in the United States. I loved that game as much as I loved drawing.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Some people used to think I had a whole team of artists drawing the strip for me. I can promise you, every single line of Peanuts from 1950 to 2000 was drawn by my own hand.
What was your most unique habit?
I would eat the same thing for lunch almost every day at the Ice Arena snack bar, usually a ham and cheese sandwich. I liked the consistency.
What was your favorite food?
Aside from that sandwich, I had a real fondness for peppermint candies. That's actually where I got the name for peppermint patty. I saw some peppermint candies sitting on a table in my house.
What was your favorite book?
I was a huge fan of books and music. I loved the classics, but I also kept up with what was happening in the world. I don't know if I could pick just one, but literature was a big part of my life.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
Well, not many people know that I once proposed to a girl named Donna Mae Johnson, the little red-haired girl in real life. She turned me down and married someone else. It broke my heart, but it gave Charlie Brown one of his most iconic storylines.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Don't ever give up. You will face rejection. I certainly did. But if you have something you know is good, keep striving for perfection in every little line. Take pride in your ideas and just keep at it.
Sparky, this has been an absolute delight. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Oh, just that it's been wonderful to reminisce. I hope people remember that it's okay to feel a little like Charlie Brown sometimes. We're all just trying our best. Thank you so much for having me, Calvin. It's been a treat.
What a legend. From the barber shop in St. Paul to the most famous comic strip in history, Charles Schulz showed us all that there is beauty in the melancholy and strength in just showing up. Thank you, Sparky, for coming on the show. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.